Hey guys, this is Chaplain Bo over with the Tucson Roadrunners. Hope you guys are doing great. Hey, there's a passage in the book of Ecclesiastes, and this book's awesome. If you haven't got a chance to read Ecclesiastes in the Bible, go for it, man. It's absolutely a treasure. Now, this passage I'm reading from is chapter 3, verse 11, and it says, God has planted eternity in your heart. And the topic that I'm talking about is lasting forever, that you were made to actually live for eternity. And that might shock you that you're not just here today, gone tomorrow, and that's the end, but you're actually built, or like it says, God has planted eternity in the human heart. And that means we have a longing for things that are greater, better. We're always striving for better, meaning there is a best. When something's better, it means in our minds that something is actually the best, and something eternal. There's something that's perfect, and so we're constantly longing after this perfection. And that's what that kind of means when it says God has put eternity in our hearts, right, in our minds, the way we think. When the Bible uses the term heart, it doesn't mean a literal heart, but it's talked about the inner part of us, kind of the soul part of us, the psyche, the thoughts, of mankind. Now I want to read to you something that's really important from a Christian philosopher, Blaise Pascal. He was a mathematician back in the 1600s, and he made quite a contribution to science with math, in the area of mathematics. He also was a great philosopher, and I've always enjoyed his reading. Now, talking about eternity, I want you to hear what he says. And it's a little thought-provoking, so just kind of bear with me, but I want you to think through some of the words. I might repeat some of the sentences a little bit so you kind of get them, okay? And one of them, he says, it is a horrible thing to feel slipping away everything that we possess. And that should put you in the mindset of, that's true. Everything that I have today is going to be gone tomorrow. There is some kind of form of truth to that, right? I can't hold on to the guitars in the back there. I can't hold on to the house and the walls and everything that we see. I can't even hold on to this body, knowing this body is decaying, right? It's falling apart over time. So there is that horrible feeling when we live for just the things that are in the here and now, knowing in our mind that, hey, at some point, it's all going away. Even living on an island like Hawaii when I was younger, you get a great BMW, you get a Mercedes-Benz, you get that thing on the island, and guess what's going to happen? It's going to rust. So even the best cars rust on the island. Now, he says, before entering into the proofs of the Christian religion, it seems to me necessary to show the injustice of those men who remain indifferent to seeking the truth of something which is so important to them and which touches them so closely. So he wants to talk to people who remain indifferent to seeking the truth about this eternity in our hearts that we have about our life. Some people don't want to look at the things that are temporary, that's what we call like death, because they want to avoid it, and that's called indifference. That's not a good thing. You don't want to be indifferent to things. You want to be able to look at them head on and come to conclusions based on facts. That's what we want to do, and that's reasonable. But it's not reasonable to just become indifferent, not caring about a subject like eternity. So he says, of all the errors of the person who's indifferent, this is doubtless the one which most clearly proves their folly and blindness. Meaning, when someone is indifferent to the idea of eternity, the idea of us being here temporarily, and that there could be an eternity with God or without God, or there could be a God, and they're indifferent to those ideas, Then he says, it proves their folly and their blindness, and concerning which is the easiest to demonstrate how much at fault they are through the most obvious observations of common sense through natural feelings. Meaning, this makes no sense to just the natural feelings that we have that everything is going away. And it makes no sense just through, that idea of common sense. That's what he's saying. It's common sense, and we know it in here that everything's going away, so why not approach the subject? So he says, for it is true beyond all doubt that the time of this life is but an instant. It's but an instant. That the state of death is eternal, of whatever nature it may be. And that thus all our actions and thoughts of that eternity, or let me stop there. What he says here is that it is true beyond all doubt, meaning what is totally true is that this life that we live right now is just for an instant, and that the state of death is eternal, whichever nature it may be. Meaning when you die and I die, that's it. Whatever comes after the grave, as far as we know, it's eternal, because no one's ever coming back from the grave, right? We know you ain't returning. And so it's eternal, no matter how we look at it. If you don't believe in God, your death is still eternal. It's still forever. You ain't coming back from it. And so he says, if that's true, which it is, and we have that's scientific in the bone, there's a great probability theory. 1 out of 1 human dies. So if that's the truth, then he says this, then all of your actions and thoughts must take such a different course according to the state of that eternity. Meaning, if it's true scientifically that we're going to die and eternity awaits us, whatever that eternity is, whatever state it's in, he says, then all of our actions and thoughts must be decided today based on that truth, because that is the sure truth. You want to know what the sure truth is? Well, your death is the sure truth. And I know that people, again, they become indifferent because they go, man, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about that. Don't become indifferent, Pascal is saying. God has put eternity in your hearts, right? That's what Ecclesiastes said. The Bible passage is saying God has put that in your heart for a reason, so that you can approach it head on. Now, it's tough to approach it head on if you don't have answers, right? But for those who take up Jesus on Jesus's offer, Jesus said, hey, I am the way, the truth, and the life. You want to come to the Father? Come through me, right? Are you burdened? Are you heavy, got a burden on you for that, for eternity, of what yours is going to be? He says, come to me and I will remove that burden. He says that I am the resurrection and the life. He who comes to me, though he die, he shall live. So Jesus offers you to know what that eternity is going to be so that you can have confidence in it. Now, because Pascal just lays the hammer down, right? He says, we know what's scientific for sure, and that is your death. Therefore, all of our actions and thoughts must it take such a different course. We must go take a new course according to the state of that eternity. Meaning we know eternity's coming. We got to take the course. We got to think about that so we take a proper course. Absolutely. I've heard it this way too. There's a jump to come. And if you were in a plane and someone, let's say, you were told that, hey, guess what? You're going to jump off this plane at 25,000 feet. Here's a parachute. hold on to the parachute because you're going to jump off the plane. What would you be holding on to most on that plane flight? I guarantee it would be that backpack with the parachute in it. And though the stewardess comes by and spills the drink on you, and the ride's horrible because you have this backpack with a parachute in it, weighing you down, arching your back in those small seats, totally uncomfortable, yucky, Coca-Cola stain on you. It doesn't matter because your mind is fixed on the jump to come. You know there's a jump to come, and so you hold on to the parachute with everything. Now, this is, in a sense, a little analogy of what Pascal is saying, is that there's a jump to come, and that jump to come is your death. And unless you are told why you're putting on the backpack, you will not necessarily keep the backpack on. But to know that you're jumping, knowing that you are for sure going to jump, you grip a hold of that backpack with everything. And it's important that you understand that jump is going to come, and that for you, what our backpack is, the Bible says, is Christ. That's who it is. Jesus is the one who came back from the dead, the only one who came back from the dead, and he has shown that there is life after death indeed. And he promises to give us that same eternal life as well, that same resurrected life as well. And so this is what Jesus was teaching, and says, hey, hold on to me. I'm the backpack, right? I'm the one who's going to get you off that plane and landed safely on the other side. And so, this is what the Bible's teaching us here. Now, I just want to end with this little passage. It says, the world is fading away along with everything it craves. But if you do the will of God, you will live forever. 1 John 2:17. Let me read that again. The world is fading away along with everything it craves. But if you do the will of God, you will live forever. You know what the will of God is? You might ask that. It's that you believe in the one the Father has sent for you. And just another passage. God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son. That's who he sent for you. That's the backpack. And because you know eternity's coming, no matter what state it's in, Pascal says, you grip a hold with everything you got. So I hope this chapel time was a good one. Maybe one you have to think about. Maybe one you have to make a decision for too, and say, hey, am I going to hold on to Jesus Christ? And, because you know there's a jump to come. And you know that if you're going to face a perfect God, you realize that you're not perfect. And that, man, what a scary thing to face a perfect being, knowing that you've broken probably every commandment he's ever given. If not action-wise, in your heart for sure. But thing is Jesus offers us forgiveness, right? That's what the cross was all about, is he is the atonement, the sacrifice for us, right? He took a punishment that we deserved, and he gave us his righteousness in return by faith as we trust in him. As we trust in him, we can have confidence in his words that we will have life and life to the fullest, abundant life, that he who believes in him will never perish at all. That the world is fading away, but Jesus says he who does the will of my Father, who by coming to me, will never fade away. And so you can have confidence in that eternity. So, hey guys, that was a good one, heavy one, but a necessary one for your life and for your afterlife. And that's what chaplains are there for. We're not just to help you here in the here and now, but we also want to help you in life and in your future life too. So take care.